So there's audio.
Yeah, the audio on the left side.
To your left side? Here? No, in the bottom.
Bottom.
The bottom left. This one. And you can put it on the video.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
There.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, everyone, from Sendai, from Tohoku, Peter John Wanda Sensei and I and Xiao Ben already on the room. We are happy that our arrangement about Tohoku Interdisciplinary International Seminar already come on today, 25 and 27. 25 arrangement is about the program presentation of us here, and then we will be somehow online, yeah, from a friend of us, yeah, and then after that we will have the intersection after 6 o'clock on the Sendai time or Tokyo time to 9:30 to allow friend of us in Malaysia in having Maghrib and Isha. In line with that, we will have the program at least from 3 countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Japan. And then we already have the form or the instrument, yeah, Majelis Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan linkage on interdisciplinary studies. And then somehow, yeah, we will continue this initiative through the Tohoku International Interdisciplinary Seminar, and we already find a very good place. There is a city place here in Sendai that we could meet up as the preparation for the 1 year ahead. And then we already have the final confirmation of our program, yeah, for today. And then before I would like to invite, yeah, Wanda Sensei to say something, yeah, about our program today, and then what is the initiative of us about the TIIS, yeah, starting from this year, and hopefully we can make it everywhere. Every year. Likewise, we have already like Tohoku University International Interdisciplinary Seminar. We started from 2018, and then we resume it 2024. And 2025, we start another initiative in line with our aspiration and inspiration of the academic cooperation. And then I'd like to offer the mic to Wanda Sensei.
Hello.
Go ahead, Sensei.
There. Okay. Hello. Okay. It's good to be here at another yearly conference where we will have many interdisciplinary presentations by several guest speakers. As Dr. Weki pointed out, we've had 5 seminars here through Tohoku University, and now we are having it here in August. So the weather's a little bit better in August than in November when it's a little colder. So Bolt is continuing to try and bring together researchers so that they can collaborate together and in various seminars through different countries. And this is one seminar that we've been trying to keep every year here in Japan. So we look forward to having more seminars here, and hope you will learn some new things from the presentations today that you can take back with you. And we hope to see some of you at our future conferences in the future. that's about all for today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Sensei. It might be we need another something that Sensei could explain to us about our initiative, ASEAN Youth Forum. Another one, we will have AYF in Dalat University in conjunction with ISEL, and then another initiative of us. Would you like to say something about that, Sensei? And then it might be we have a shortage of time for registration, but feel free to register if you have still time. Go ahead. Thank you, Sensei, for the information about AYF, arrangement of Dalat, and somehow because we could come up with the a lot of initiative through the ASEAN region, and our colleague from Singapore already form another platform for us. They call it ACAR, ASEAN as the ASEAN Center for Advanced Research. Yeah, I just remember the ACHAR, but the long form of ACHAR I'm not quite familiar yet. But somehow we have here a friend of us, Xiao Xiao Bin. Yeah, it is a good time to see him in summer since likewise. One sensei that if we come another like November last year, it quite cold for us for from the people of Southeast Asia. That's why we propose that our activity is in August. Yeah, it quite hot for Japanese people, but somehow for those who are in Southeast Asia, it is a good time for us. And then Xiao Bin travel from Akita, how far from here?
Times almost 3 hours away.
Yeah, almost 3 hours away from Akita to come to Sendai, but it is a very good time to with him. So I'd like to invite him to say some things, and then maybe we can look after what is the possibilities topic that we can come up with the collaboration with him, since he is a professor in Akita, but maybe we will listen from him another explanation about it. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Xiao Bin to say something with us, and then maybe in the same times he will introduce something about it. Yeah, the times is yours, Xiao Bin.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Xiaoben, and I work as a assistant professor at Akita University. Likewise, Akita is a city that is 3 hours away from Sendai. So I took the train and came to see Professor Wana this today. And I graduated from Tokyo University a few years back. And when I was a student in Tokyo University, I worked with Professor Wana, and we both went to Sendai Kosen to teach an English course. So this is a pretty good opportunity to not only come to present and also come to catch up with Peter. Good to see everyone.
Thank you, Xiaobin. Already come and very good time us because a friend of us here from Malaysia already joined. But to make it easy, maybe we will invite Xiaobin, and then chair goes to Prof. Peter.
Okay, we're going to start off with our first presenter today, Xiao Bian, and so we'll have him come up, and he will be recorded here in our live session. I'd like to invite Xiao Bian to come to the front, and we'll have him set up his presentation. Did you want to talk?
You can join us over there.
And I will have Dr. Weke will talk to you for a few minutes while he's setting up his screen.
Yeah, thank you, Sensei. While Xiaobin set up his presentation, that actually this is the initiative or linkage between us, Malaysia, Indonesia, and Japan on interdisciplinary studies. And then we are honored of us because we have Prof. Har from UCYP University here. On the same time. Yeah. And then Prof. Azhar, he is from the director of International Islamic Civilization of UCYP University. He will present after. We will invite Xiao Bin as the first presenter, and then follow then with our colleague from UCYP University in Malaysia. So okay, and then he is doing his Zoom. While he is set up his Zoom meeting with him, and then actually this is the first year we embark to this Majelis Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan linkage on interdisciplinary studies that we already started on the 1st of August this year, and then at the time our colleague from UCYP University, and then from lecturers of Tohoku University join us, and then we are grateful for today that we have a friend of us here in Tohoku in the city of Sendai. Yeah, since the greater area of Sendai actually is a part of Fukushima. If you are aware of the situation in Fukushima, going back a date before at the time. And then today, the embarkations of TIIS, Tohoku International Interdisciplinary Seminar, allow us to come with the idea of interdisciplinary, yeah, and join us the potential collaborations between us under the umbrella of BOLT and the under umbrella of Majelis together. And without further ado, I would like to invite once again Xiao Ben Yuan to present his work. Thank you, Xiao Ben.
You need to share doc.
Unmute.
Take a photo if you want.
I'll just go with what I prepared. Okay. Should I also turn on my camera? Maybe this is better. Okay, can everybody see the screen and can you hear me well? Is everything good?
Yes.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, now let's get started. So thank you for having me today. And my name is Xiaoben, and like what I introduced myself earlier, I work as a assistant professor at Akita University. And today I want to talk about investigating illicit metaphors for reflective and responsive teaching. So before we get started, I made up a micro icebreaker for everybody to participate. Think about something you have been learning lately, and if you can come up with a metaphorical expression to fill out the blanks in this sentence that I put on screen. For example, learning programming lately feels like something, and because what? You can come up with any answers. Maybe we can spend the first 30 seconds to think about this example. And don't worry, we will come back to this example later. Now let's get started with the presentation. So when I started working in Akita University, and I believe this might be a common issue for other teachers in a classroom, which is when you ask questions to students, especially flat participation, to ask direct questions. Sometimes always end up in silence, right? As a teacher, I've been thinking about how to get more answers or more responses from my students. And direct questions like, do you have any questions? It doesn't really understand, or it doesn't really seek for the students' inner thoughts, the way how they conceptualize challenges. Those are a little bit hard to extract from those direct questions. And also a lot of the flat participation direct questions, they target the final products. The final products means the scores, if the answer is right or wrong. So those direct questions, they don't really dive deep into students' mental models. Now consider this. Consider the comparison between these two questions. The first one is, what is hard about learning Japanese kanji right now, and why? This is what I meant by a direct question. So instead of using the literal question, think about if you can ask students by incorporating a metaphorical expression, such as right now, learning kanji is like blah, 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 because blah, blah, blah. And below the screen, this is a actual answer from my students. So what he answered is, learning Japanese vocabulary is, for me, a bit like learning to paint with a lot of colors missing. And then he elaborated on this metaphor by saying, because you can paint a picture, maybe even make it pretty, but until all those colors are on your palette, it's never going to be quite how you imagined it. So this, I will talk more about the entailments of these metaphors later, but I think it gives the educators more to think about the conceptualization, or what is going through the student's mind through those metaphorical expressions. And next, why metaphors? Why am I focusing on the topic of metaphors? And that is why metaphors transform classroom discourse. There are 3 points I want to mention. The first one is it promotes structural mapping. So metaphors, it helps students to map relations from a familiar source onto the target. For example, learning kanji is like a puzzle, right? Here, learning kanji is the target. It's the target of the discourse, and then we map it onto a familiar source, which is understand, or playing with puzzle. Memorizing radicals is the pieces, and then the learning task is assembling them in order. So using metaphorical expressions, it promotes a structural mapping to map a abstract concept into an embodied domain. And then it lowers face, threat, and social risk. So if you're asking, as a teacher, if you're asking students and they respond by saying, I don't get kanji, there's a lot of face threatening risk at play. And saying I don't get kanji feels risky. However, if you're using in metaphorical expressions, it allows students to talk about difficulty indirectly, and hence a safe face. And on top of that, it makes strategies explicit. Once the metaphorical mapping is visible, we teachers can externalize it with diagrams or routines, reducing cognitive load and guesswork. So what do I mean by this one is, let's take a look at the example below. So instead of asking the direct question, what is hard right now, we ask kanji. So the student might respond by saying kanji is like a forest, walking through a forest because I lose the path. And then as an educator, we can dive deeper into dive deep into this response, and by asking, great, now let's add trial markers, and let's create a map to help you get out of this path, right? If you're lost, what makes you lost? And what are the ways to get out of this forest? So it enhances conversations, and also um, um, attempt to understand what are the inner sort of thoughts from our students. And empirical research supports this idea of why metaphor works. First of all, it enhances elaboration. There's a meta analysis that shows metaphors boost elaboration. People think and say more when they're using metaphorical expressions, and also it reorganizes ideas in ways that raise talk time and turn counts. And also reorganize problem space. Metaphors cue entailments. What do you mean by those metaphors? Which increases elaborations and information forging, and creating more to say and more to ask. And lastly, metaphor also has a function of directed reasoning. Classic experiments show metaphors steer not only conclusions, but also how people search for further information, a proxy for follow-up questions. So what do I mean by the last point is when presented, there's an experiment when the participants presented, it was the same crime report that described crime and framed as two different framings. One is crime as a beast versus crime is a virus. Participants, they prefer different solutions. For example, when you say crime is a beast, participant, they prefer punitive solutions, right? We need to beat up that beast, right? We need to take severe actions to take control of that beast. However, when crime is framed as crime is a virus, participants are more likely to take preventative reforms, right? When they asked how should we prevent crimes in the future, they would be more likely to ask we need to take preventative reforms because it's a virus, right? It's a virus. If we take preventative reforms, preventative solutions, it can keep us from infected by the virus. So this is what I mean by different type of metaphorical expressions. They direct reasoning, right? And so metaphor is a wonderful thing, but sometimes it's very it's not that frequent in natural conversations. So today I'm proposing a method that is called illicit metaphors. Method, a systematic approach, how we as educators can elicit metaphors from our students. So here I put it on the screen. Rather than waiting for metaphors to appear on their own, deliberately elicit them with a standard procedure that names the target, such as a abstract concept, and then invites a familiar source that is a more likely to be an embedded experience. So for example, you can ask your students to complete the sentence, learning conjugation in French feels like, right? You can ask them to come up with a metaphor, such as getting lost in a maze house. And then ask them what are the entailments they mean by this metaphor. And so the students can elaborate on the entailments of the metaphor they used. So they can say, because the gendered endings are like, look alike, are look alike wall rules, such seems the same until it forces a different turn, and one wrong wall sends you to a dead end, right? And as educators, after eliciting the metaphors, what we can do is, first of all, underline the metaphor phrase and then name the target and also name the source. What is the target? The target here in this example is learning, and then that is mapped onto a source, which is get lost in a maze. And then understand the entailments of this elaboration, which is the grammar. They are understood as walls. So they're forcing students to make progress, right? And after that, we can tag functions, right? In this speech, how it feels as hitting the wall, right? Also, how to proceed, how do we get out of the maze, and also to identify as a learner what has changed in our learning process. So this is what we can do after eliciting the metaphors to extract the actionable strategy you pull from the mapping entailments of that metaphor. And also, we can elicit metaphors in a conversation to naturally ask students what do they mean by a particular metaphor. So usually, the elicitation goes through you elicit the metaphors, you cluster them in different categories, and reflect on those entailments, and then making adjustment. And if necessary, we can re-elicit metaphors from our students. So based on this method, today I have 3 case studies. Maybe I don't have enough time to talk all of them. Maybe I can focus on maybe the first one, the case studies.
Hurry up time for all 3.
Oh, okay.
Because the people were late. So.
Okay. Okay. So I have 3 applied metaphor elicitation across a different context. The first one is study Japanese language study. Okay, and the second case study is about a rural farm stay where I take my students to a rural farm stay. Okay, I want to ask my students how is their experience during this rural farm stay? Similar to the first one, so how is their experience learning Japanese? And then the third one is a little bit different from the first 2, which I will talk about later. So our university, Akita University, hosted 10 Ukrainian students when the Russia-Ukrainian war took place. And I was talking to one of our students to understand her experience during this traumatic war experience. So I'll talk about the first one. The background is what I mentioned earlier. I teach Japanese at Akita University to a group of international students. They're here for a 1-year study abroad program. And if you have ever been to a 1-year study abroad program, you know that it's a year that really make you or break you, right? Because you are thrown into a very different learning environment, and you're picking up Japanese. You need to pick up Japanese very quickly. So as I'm talking to my students, I noticed their motivation and their learning strategies, they varied between during this 1-year exchange program. And how do I, as a teacher, how do I help them? And I thought about using this elicit metaphor method to understand what is going through their minds. So this elicitation approach is through a structured questionnaire. I elicit metaphors in written responses at the beginning and near the end of the exchange program. And the prompt is very straightforward. Learning Japanese or Japanese vocabulary, learning Japanese grammar is like. So come up with a metaphor and then explain this metaphor. Now let's take a look at student A's responses. The first one is what he responded at the beginning of his study abroad program. Learning Japanese in general is something like getting to know a loved one. So this is the metaphor. For the very first time, it's awkward and there are often misunderstandings and miscommunications, and it's a struggle. But at the end of the day, when I get to know it just a little bit better than the day before, it all feels worth it. So we can see from this first metaphor, the student is quite excited. He's very positive about learning Japanese as if he is getting to know a loved one, right? He uses the relationship metaphor, which reviews emotional investment and willingness to persist through difficulties. However, when it's near the end of the study abroad program, I asked him again, and now he came up with a very different metaphor. He said learning Japanese grammar is like pulling teeth because it's difficult and becomes a unpleasant task. And learning Japanese vocabulary is like pushing a rock up a mountain because it seems every time I make my headway, I slide back to square one. So in the second metaphor, first of all, he used this physical pain metaphor of comparing Japanese learning to pulling teeth, which suggests grammar is a very painful task for him to do. But also on the other side, you go to a dentist because you must do that, right? So it's painful, but would also remind a student when he uses this metaphor, this is a necessary process for you. And also, he elaborated on his frustration by saying this is pushing a rock up a mountain. And imagine that, right? Imagine that in a real life scenario. It's very frustrating. It also adopts the Greek mythology of Sisyphus' effort metaphor. Everything he does that goes back to square one. Um, so it really shows how the emotional stance a student have at different stages of this study abroad program. And then the second example I would like to share is from student B. So she responds the first question by saying, learning Japanese in general is like a quest in the forest. You go straight on your path and you face different challenges. So different challenges means new grammar constructions, or you face different locations. Locations means different complicated kanjis, but you go through it and you enjoy new impressions and reach new achievements. So this is a typical journey or quest metaphor that should use learning as a path through a forest. And obstacles are new grammars, and kanjis are progress by exploration and wayfindings. Towards the end of the study abroad program, she again came to my office and then responded to another questionnaire. This time, she said learning Japanese in general is like going through the Torii gates because every next one gives you kind of blessing for your next level of language. So this time, she is still very positive and very grateful for her learning experience. She compared learning to going through the Torii gates. So that is a threshold or a ritual metaphor, progress as passing gates. Each stage confers recognition, suggesting clear level and achievement milestones. And also, what is noticeable here is the student is using a cultural metaphor, right? Because Torii gates is what you see in front of the shrine in Japan. So it also shows that her appreciation of studying in Japan. In overall, it shows the growth and belongings signals through these elicitations. Positive and agentive tone with cultural anchoring frames learning as meaningful entry into the community. Okay, now let's move on to the second case study, which is a farm stay experience. This time, the background of the study is explore how exchange students they conceptualize living in two worlds. So those are a group of students. They're also international students who come to Akita, and I take them to a rural farm stay where they spend 1 night, 2 days with the local farms, and they learn how to harvest crops. They do all the farm labors with the farmers together and other students. So basically live with the farmers for 2 days and then talk to them and eat with them and do all sorts of farm activities, labors with the farm together. So what I want to understand is to track student identity change by the shift from being a guest or being a student, and do they have a identity shift from being a student to a family member. And this time, the elicitation approach is less structured than the case study one. So basically, they are emerged through natural conversations. What I asked them is, how does the farm stay feel like, right? How did the farm stay feel like? And here are the answers. The first one is student S. Student S responded by saying, I feel like I didn't feel it at first because I feel like it was kind of like a hotel. So the farm stay was kind of like a hotel, almost because the food was already made and everything was like done, and we just had to help a little bit. But I feel like then on the last day before we went back, we actually like made the onigiri together, and we spent time together and went on a walk. That is when it started feeling like home, like I feel like a proper family. And I feel like everyone else was also feeling like very connected, which is a bit crazy after day one. But we were actually acting like siblings or like a big family. So here you can see the sort of framings changes from describing this farm stay as going to a hotel first, right? And then gradually the student starts to feel like home. And then she started to describe the connections she felt with the farmers and with others. Mm. And she started to using the kinship words like siblings or like a big family. So there are not only sort of wordings changes in the vocabularies, but also it reflects a mental state of students went through different stages of conceptualizing or understanding the environment. On the arrival was like a hotel. So by entailment, it means it's more of passive consumer, right? You go to a hotel, so everything is set up for you. You don't have to do a lot of things. So it's a service relationship. You get a service from the hotel, and there's minimal participation. You don't really participate on any activities in the hotel, right? However, on the farm stay, because we do a lot of activities together, we have a lot of participation with the farmers. We make dinner together, which the student described as making onigiri together with the family. We start to have a shared activity and we start to collaborate with each other. And then the transformation happened because we noticed that the family members, the students described the members as family members, and by the last stage, she's not a passive consumer. She starts to become an active contributor. She also has the emotional connection with the farm, with everybody else, and acting like siblings. And here's another example from the farm stay metaphors. This is from a student M. So she said, I feel like a hometown. It was like very comfortable and warm, and like I had a real deep dive into how they're like, the way they're living. I had my first onsen experience with them and like different things with them. So I feel like, yeah, that's the memory I'll keep with me forever. So I think this elicitation shows that, first of all, belonging students shift from tourist or an outsider to a family member by saying, I feel like a hometown, right? This metaphor really helps us to understand that she integrate her daily life into this environment. And then there is the mentorship that is offered by the farmers, host families transition from service providers to cultural guides and parents. And then the permanency experiences described as becoming part of personal identity because she says that's the memory I'll keep with me forever, right? So there is the permanence layer to her speech, part of her identity, becoming part of her identity, and not just a temporary experience. Okay, lastly, I would like to talk about the third case study of what metaphors. So the background is what I mentioned earlier. Akita University hosted 10 Ukrainian students during the Russia-Ukrainian war, and the goal for this case study or for me is to understand how students they frame the war and how those frames organize their feelings, their sense makings, and their coping mechanisms. And also, on top of it, I want to build race awareness, right? To raise awareness of people who are experiencing wars and to document their literacy, their documents, their voice, to build critical media literacy and empathetic dialogues. Ethical considerations, because it's a sensitive topic, all the voluntary participation with informed consent. So I gave them this questionnaire before the interview, and no identifying information shared. And I want to focus on metaphor and method and reasoning, not trauma. I put a content note here, and because this is sensitive content, and if you don't want to hear about anything related to war, that is also fine. The metaphor approach provides, first of all, a distance from raw experience, right? When they're talking about this metaphor, it gives them space to sort of conceptualize war in a separate domain. And then there's agency in framing personal narratives. So it's not passive receivers. They are actively framing this wall in their own narratives. And also structure for processing complex emotions, because we know when we are processing emotions, it's very fuzzy, it's very complicated, it has a lot of entailments. So I was hoping using metaphors can help them to organize their thoughts and their emotions. And I have one example from this study. So what I asked is, what is it like when you think about the impact of the wall? So we have described so far the tension, right? And then we also covered the complexities of the wall, and now let's focus on the impact. What do you think about the impact of the wall, and what metaphors or analogies come to your mind? And the student responded by saying, so here I really can use this image. So it's an image of a wildfire or forest fire, because when I talk to the first one, it was like a really long-lasting one. So the forest fire or the wildfire, it's not temporary. It's a long-lasting one, and the wildfires is limited by time. Even it's limited by time, but sometimes it can be really dramatic and damaging. And it has consequences not only for human beings, but also for ecology, um, for the whole systems, and for the economy as well. So it's a very compact sentences, and let's break it down. First of all, the students mentioned the war to her felt like a wildfire, right? If you imagine a wildfire right now, it's large scale, right? It's not a fire that happened at the back of your yard. It's a wildfire that takes place and eats up everything, right? In the mountain. So it comes with the entailment of destruction, immediate, dramatic, and large-scale impact on human lives. And the student also mentioned it's not only had an impact on human lives, but also it had an impact on ecology, right? It's not just one single layer, it affects entire systems, right? Like the war affects people who live far away, even in Japan, right? So affects entire system beyond visible damage. And it's also about economy, long-term financial consequences. And I think the reason of the gas or the price of the gas has been rising in Japan is the consequence of part of is the war, right? And also, the student responded by saying, limit it, right? Because the wildfire has to be put down, but the duration, it's a long-lasting one, right? It's not a one that put down that was distinguished right away. It has a long-lasting effect on human lives and also ecology and economy. In her later interview, she mentioned that nature can revive, but it needs a lot of time to recover. So I took this interview 2 years ago, and the war is still ongoing. So that shows the long-lasting effect of the war that has impact our students. Okay, so far, now I want to talk about the discussion and cross-content patterns, what varies and what's common. So what is different? Of course, the context and the stakes are different, right? Classroom progress from case one and identity rich immersion from case two and public civic discourse from case three, they are very different context. Elicitation structure is also different. The first one is more formal. The second one is more casual and elicited through individual and group responses. And the third one is elicited through one-on-one dialogue and conversation. However, what is common between these case studies, first of all, is we see that metaphors, right? The power of metaphor, it can 5 minutes more. Oh, okay. It compresses complex states and emotions into graspable signals. Um, Through the Japanese learning metaphors, we understand what is the learning pace of a student, what are the strategies they're using, what are the scaffolding needs we can adopt, right? For example, when the student mentioned it's a repetitive um, sorry, when student mentioned um, pushing a rock up a mountain because it seems every time making my headway a slide back to square one, there is an entailment of he is getting sort of frustrated with the repetitive tasks. And as educator, we can scaffold that entailment into maybe provide different types of learning tasks, maybe not only from the textbook, using YouTube, using different media to provide different learning materials for students to get rid of, to get out of that repetitive mindset. So going back to the discussion, for the second one, for the second case study, we understood students' identity and their belongings through metaphors, right? Students they conceived the farm stay as hotels, and then gradually start to realize, started to change their minds and start to feel connected and as a family member of the farm. And lastly, we have the emotional stance from the wall metaphors that really tells us what is for someone who has not experienced war, what is it like to have that traumatic experience? And all of the narratives or the metaphors, they focus on personal narratives and orient towards deeper insights available through direct questioning, and also has the diagnostic potential for educators to understand entailments and provide corresponding solutions. So lastly, what are the implications for educational practice across those contexts? Metaphors, themes raised participation and elaboration consistent with work showing figurative frames stimulate information search and structure discourse. And the next steps for educators, I have listed 5. The first one is to build a repertoire of metaphor prompts for your subject area. You can use this method maybe in programming as well to build a metaphor prompts for your subject area. And then practice microcoding to extract actionable insights and create classroom culture where figurative language is valued and track metaphor shifts as indicator of conceptual development, share results with colleagues to build institutional knowledge. So in summary, using this method increase participation, increase willingness to contribute, and also increase elaboration, students' elaboration on to generate a rich response, and also to lower the face threat and reduces social risk of sharing difficulties or inner struggles. That is all for my presentation, and here is the selected references I use in this presentation. Thank you very much. And if there are any questions, I would love to answer questions.
Thank you, Xiao Ben. One questions from the audience online. How to make the awareness of the war, since you say that it might be difficult for them to talk about in study case of war. Yeah, thank
Yeah, so that is a very good question. And I know it's a very sensitive issue. So what I did is I asked sorry. So what I did is I prepared a questionnaire and to explain the rationale of the interview and then give students the enough information about why am I doing this and what are the questions they will they I will ask during the interview, and then I'll let my students choose either to be part of the interview or not. So they have the agency to be to choose to come and talk to me or not. And surprisingly, for all the students I have give them the information beforehand. They all agreed to come and have this chat with me. And even after the interview, they reported it was actually very soothing for them to talk about this war experience, and that really took me by surprise.
Thank you, Xiaoben, for the great presentation, and then uh, we can learn about that, and then it might be another questions from Sensei.
Yes. Okay. I'd like to ask one question.
Yes.
The You're teaching students of different levels at your school. Which level do you think it's most appropriate?
So I think it is a question that has two entailments, right? First one is wait. The first one is when is a appropriate timing to introduce metaphorical expressions to language learners, right? And the second one is um, um, yeah, how do we do I have when students have different language abilities, what language do I choose? Ask them to write down their metaphorical expressions. Right? I think there are two questions in this one question. The first one is so I think metaphor, it's surprisingly, it's a cognitive function, right? For students who come to college, who come to university, they are all above 18 years old. So even though they don't understand some metaphorical expressions in Japanese, they understand the metaphorical expression in their own language, right? And there's a cultural metaphor also at play. For example, in Japanese, we say somebody has a black belly, right? A black belly. We use a lot of body parts that is denoted to belly. But in English, right, you would say someone has a black heart, right? That the metaphor is focused on heart. So there's a cultural difference among different types of metaphors. But I think as long as exploring those cultural differences for students that I teach in college, they don't really they can't understand the mappings, right? They can understand the mappings from one domain to another. And then the second question is for language learners, right? For language learners, a lot of my students, when they are answering those questions, it is very hard for them to answer those questions in Japanese, in a language they're not familiar with, right? Because it really if you're deliberately extracting metaphors from the back of your mind, it really need a lot of forces, a lot of energy, right? You have to pull from your encyclopedia knowledge. So what I do during the research is I always encourage my students to use the language they're most comfortable with to elicit metaphors. And they are free to use any sort of translation tools to help them come up with the metaphors they really want to say, because the goal is to understand their inner thoughts, their narratives, their way of conceptualizations, but not focusing on the surface language they're using. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, Xiaoben. A great presentation. And then it might be we have opportunity in the near future to collaborate and then somehow to have the case study between Malaysia, Indonesia, and Japan, so we can collect the data together. We are grateful today. We have here Prof. Azhar. Yeah, we have here Prof. Azhar Jafar from UCYP University. He is the Director of International Islamic Civilization. It might be, I will introduce Prof. Azhar to Prof. Peter Warner and then Prof. Xiao Ben Yuan from Akita University, and Prof. Warner, this is Prof. Azhar, and Prof. Xiao Ben, this is Prof. Azhar, and then he will let us know each other somehow that we already form a linkage between Malaysia, Indonesia, and Japan. We thankfully, without further ado, I would like to invite Prof. Azad Jafar from UCYP University. Time is yours, Prof.
Okay, thank you, my colleague, Prof. Dr. Ismail Swardi Weki from Indonesia. How are you, Prof. Peter Wiener? How are you, Prof. Zia Bin Yuan? Nice to meet you, both of you. Um, it's truly very pleasure to me to joining this special discussion that bring together with us scholars and then also students and partners from Indonesia, from Malaysia, and also from Japan. Today gathering, I think, is more than just an academic event. Uh, it is a space for us to exchange ideas, and then sharing experiences and explore new opportunities for collaboration across from our universities. I think Malaysia and also Indonesia and very, very strong culture and educational ties. While Japan, Prof, has long been a valued partner in advancing research. Just now we heard one presentation, I think very nice presentation from Mr. Zwain. And then also technology and innovation by coming together in this seminar. I think we maybe can creating a bridge that connects our strength, whether education and then maybe what we call um, uh, research and then community and also community engagement towards a common goal of knowledge sharing and mutual growth. I think this what we call seminar or roundtable dialogue will inspire meaningful dialogue, spark new ideas, and also for our new project next, maybe, and strengthen the friendship between us that connect our academic communities. I think okay. Um, Prof. Ismail, maybe I can present the the prospectus about uh, Triple IC, International Institute for Islamic Civilization. Okay, Profiter. This is a prospectus International Institute of Islamic Civilization, Triple IC. Um, I think okay, we focus through to focus and function the Triple IC. Um, I think the second one, sustainable and development future. The future, sustainable and development goals, SDG, science and technology, innovation, environment and health. Okay, we focus on this for next uh, maybe for next our collaboration, because the institute will also serve as a center for Islamic studies and at the national and international levels, and also serving as a true leader. The institute contributes to policy formulation and development for diverse stakeholders at domestic and international levels. And also the institute serve to community by providing consultation, counseling, and training services. Uh, okay, our vision is International Institute for Islamic Civilization is committed to becoming a center of excellence for global Islamic civilization development. And the mission, championing innovative approaches in civilizational studies, sustainable development, and future studies and applied Sharia studies through scholarly discourse, training, initiative, and research program. Okay, this is our goals. We have four goals and also strategies. Okay, wait. Okay, okay, Profiter. Maybe next time we can collaborate with you in one seminar, or maybe a small visiting means I mean a visiting lecturer between us from your university and our university, and what field that we can decide after this. Okay, I think for Ismail, maybe this is introduction from me, and maybe for Peter, we can discuss about this matter.
I think we could do some type of collaboration in these areas because we have many departments that are working in the sustainability and study of this area. So,
Okay.
And Dr. Weke, you had mentioned maybe he could do some type of collaboration as well. So,
Okay.
Yeah, somehow, Sensei, we have student mobility annually with UCYP University. This is somehow we can see the possibility to go further for the next one. The another possibilities is there is a colloquium. It is about higher education. It might be we can see the perspective of higher education in this some kind of uh, the near one in October. So let us see what is the possibilities to do after this seminar. So it might be we could come up with another focus group discussion later. Yeah, let me now from perspective of Prof. Azhar and Prof. Peter in the availability of time and Xiao Bench, then we can form another discussion. And I'd like to invite Prof. Azhar for the closing statement of this and while what we can do together. For example, because we have a PhD program in eco-theology, and then one of the uh, partner that we can invite to join is Tohoku University. This morning, I have opportunity say hello to the former dean of intercultural studies, and it might be we can send him any kind of invitation to join for this one. Again, I'd like to invite Prof. Azhar for once the closing statement.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Vicky, and also my colleague, Prof. Peter Werner. Okay, I hope this discussion or this seminar will inspire meaningful dialogue. Maybe next we can spark ideas and join project and also strengthen a friendship that connect our academic communities and then also student mobility maybe and joining a roundtable dialogue maybe or also visiting lecturer maybe or small discussion uh, um, maybe this year or maybe next year. Okay, that's all from me from USIP University, Dr. YK. Thank you very much. Hope to see
Yeah.
you all.
Thank you, Prof. Azhar. Since this is a very good situation that we can work together, and hopefully by early preparation, we can have the two performance of the next year. The first one is TIIS, Tohoku International Interdisciplinary Seminar. We will make it in the last week of August. Sorry for the connection. And then we will have a TIIS in the first week of August next year, 2026. And then it might be we can offer Tohoku University to join us on Ichihe on December 2026 in somewhere else in Indonesia or in Bali. This is two arrangement that we can move forward together. And thank you very much to Prof. Azhar, thank you to Prof. Wana, and thank you to Xiaobin for this first session of online session, a hybrid session actually, because Prof. Peter, Xiaobin, and I, we are in the Tohoku in the Sendai city today, and hopefully everyone enjoy the seminar, and thank you very much. Bye, Prof. Azhar and everyone.
Bye.